if I could do just one workout, I had to choose one workout to do from here to eternity. I'll tell you what, it's changed. My answer has changed dramatically from what I would have said to you maybe even just 2 years ago. But here it is. I would do one legged, one limbed exercise that is unilateral work. So I'm working one arm, but not the other. I might have a weight in this, but I'm only moving one. Similarly with my lower body. Let me show you. I'm going to show you more legs than I'm showing you upper body because the lower body has bigger major muscle groups. So if you want to boost your metabolism, and we still do, it's the only reason I would have chosen heavy, that and bone density. But we can, as long as we go to muscular fatigue, optimize muscle fatigue and muscle mass and strength. And we have to be able to move really well in order to ever do things that will help us build bone density. So that is why I've changed my answer. It's not just lifting heavy and doing a few push, pull, and a lower body exercise like a squat. That's how I would have answered that before. But if you watch the exercises in this video, you will see how much you've got to have balance. There is rotation built in and or anti-rotation. And that means you're resisting your body wanting to rotate. And all of those things are so daily activities of life. And here's the deal. At the finish line, it is all about daily activities of life. You may look good, maybe a bodybuilder by lifting heavy, but up until a certain point, because I think we all have to worry about degeneration. We have to be weighing risk and reward. If we lift too heavy all the time, and we're only doing that without allowing our bodies to reset and repair, we will most likely be compromising our 80s and our 90s. So here's a few more. This is a single leg squat, but notice how low I'm able to go because I'm holding on to something. I want you to notice, however, my weight's on my standing heel, and as I'm holding on, I'm not straining. Can you see? I'm not really hanging. I'm not putting a lot of weight on it. It's there for balance to allow me to have that depth that probably I could not go by myself. But what this is allowing me to do is go even deeper with a little bit of a spotter so I know I can get back up. All right, love that one. So you can do that with tubing or something at home, if not at a gym. This is side lunges. Super simple, but I'm coming to a knee lift. Now, you don't have to. You could just bring your legs together. And I could also be holding a weight or wearing a weighted vest if I wanted to add a little bit of weight. But the thing is, when you do a lot of single leg called unilateral work, you may not have to add that extra weight. And you may want the day of relaxation, a little more recovery between. Here's a rear lunge, same concept. I'm bringing it up to a knee, so I'm challenging my balance. When you challenge your balance, you are challenging your core. And nobody said you need to think about sucking it in. I don't want you to do that. Just know if you're on one leg and you're balancing, you are working your core. So it's all built in. This is a thrust. Now, traditionally with hip thrusts, there is a degree or an element of adding weight to the front of your hip. But in this lift, I don't actually need to if I'm going with single leg. So anything you do single leg where you've done weighted when you stand on two, try it with no weight first. Try it, see how you feel the next 24 to 48 hours. Because if you're activating those muscles, there's no need to load, and you might actually be dampening the effect if you load too soon. This one is a single leg, basically a bridge up, right? But I've got my top leg elevated and just one leg going. Now, I could have this on something less stable, like a ball, and that would make it a little bit more difficult. But make sure you can do this one first. Let's go to a few more through the upper body. So here's this single chest press, single arm chest press. Now I could be up in a bridge. I could just have my hips lifted if I wanted to, more difficult. I'm going fairly heavy here, but not probably as heavy as I could if I were using something more stable on both sides.
So think about where you're at, what you're trying to do here. I could also be on a bench. I could be using a ball if I wanted to make it even more functional, and that would be an okay thing to do today. Single leg hamstring curl. So here's a demonstration of that bridge that maybe we could have also done on the ball. Listen, this is a game changer. If you do hamstring curls with a ball and go to singles, it's different. Bent over row. You can also do a single arm bent over row with a cable machine where you get a little bit more rotation. You can see I rotate more here than if I had just two weights.
Some of them are tricky. Why? Well, because there's a balance component. When you're on one leg, even if you're, say, you're on a resistance ball, leaning back on the ball, and you're doing one arm in a chest press, there's balance involved. Even though you've got 2 feet, you're on a ball, so you're fairly stable. You could even be on a bench or be on the floor, but bridging up. There is still a balance component because one arm is naked or has weight, but it's not moving. We feel better when we're pushing or pulling two arms at once. So there's a lot more going on for your brain, which actually is good. I think I can use all I can get. I don't know about you. But there's also this component of I have to stabilize this one side if I'm only moving this side. This side is really bracing so that I don't rotate with it. That's all good news. So it's not easy necessarily. And if you have issues with a joint, your ankle, your knee, or your hip on a certain side, you're going to know it. Now, you may feel like that's a disadvantage. I think it's a win. I think it's a win to know that because if you're always only doing things, say you're on a leg press at the gym, you're sitting upright, kind of slightly back at an angle, you're pushing both legs out, you don't realize you're cheating. You don't realize that your dominant leg or your strongest leg, it doesn't have to be right arm is your right dominant side, but your strongest leg could be doing more of the work, like 70%, right? And if you take one away, reduce the weight so that you can do it well, you will know. You will know. Say you're doing 40 pounds. I'm just throwing that number out. You're doing 40 pounds on a leg press with your right leg. You switch that over to go to your left leg, and you're like, oh, not going to get as many on this side. Or maybe I can do twice as many. You've got an asymmetry going on. We don't want that to get drastic. None of us are totally symmetrical all the time. If you are, let's say you're a runner or you play tennis or you play golf, I mean, imagine the amount of times if you play tennis and you're right sided, you're always going to that right side. And yeah, you're a great tennis player if you can switch back and forth, but a lot of people can't do that really well. If you can, fantastic. But for those of us who pretty much dominate by one side, they golf, you're swinging on that side. If you take a practice swing and you happen to hit it as many times as I do, I mean, you're taking 180 strokes swinging in one direction. We've got to balance you on the other side. You're probably at the end of golf season a little less in balance than you would be maybe at another time of year when you're not just swinging on one side. So these are just things to pay attention to. And if you're doing unilateral work, even if it's one time a week, and that's my suggestion for you because really, nobody's got a gun to your head. You don't have to choose to do one workout for the rest of your life, which would not be ideal. But what I would love for you to do is say, okay, I'm going to work as heavy as I can, say on Monday and Friday, plenty of work time or recovery time in between both of those. But you can also take a functional day and do that unilateral one legged work, one arm work in between on Wednesday. Functional work does not require as much recovery time. So potentially you're not going to interfere with the recovery from Monday's workout. And you're not going to need a recovery that's longer than between Wednesday and Friday before you do that workout. So you're just fine and still stimulating the muscles, getting some balance, getting more neural connection and coordination that is required when you're on one side and your body has to pay attention differently. Think about all the things, though, that you do in your life where you're actually moving both hands, pushing them forward, or pulling together at the same time. There's not that many of them. If you're pushing a lawnmower, maybe you're pushing a snowblower or you're pulling it backward, That might be the only time, right? Otherwise, we're pulling with one arm while our other arm is doing something else, opening and closing a door. We might be starting the lawnmower, right? Like that with one single arm. We're vacuuming and pushing and pulling with one arm. And again, we want to work out in the way that we live so that life gets easier. All right. There you have it. All my favorites. You could take each one of those. That could be your workout between two workouts that are heavier weight, more basic exercises like squats and lunges and chest press and rows that you're doing on your two pivotal days. And you're putting this one in the middle. So you are doing strength training 3 days a week, and you're welcome. I know a lot of you think more is better. I don't think it is. You have to be 100% recovered, but this is a way for you to put it in and get the best of both worlds, a little balance, a little coordination. You're working differently and you've got more core involved. Let me know what your questions are. I hope this was helpful. I hope this is a fun workout or a challenging one or a little of both. And watch next time. We've got something coming up for arms for this next season we're about to enter into.